was granted legal aid and certain medical care while in custody. Judge John Hughes remanded Mr Murphy to Cloverhill Prison, and he will appear again next Wednesday via video link. Mairead Cleary at Dublin District Court.
The PSNI's revealed Detective Chief Inspector John Caldwell has been discharged from hospital to continue his recovery. He was shot several times after an underage football training session in Omagh on February 22nd. The Taoiseach says he expects Robert Watt to fully implement the findings of a report into the former CMO's failed secondment. A report published this week found Tony Holohan's botched secondment bypassed all accepted protocols. The Secretary-General of the Department of Health, Robert Watt, said yesterday he did not accept the findings, but Leo Varadkar said the government does.
We need proper and better procedures in place to make sure that we don't see a secondment like this mishandled again, and I fully expect Mr Watt to fully implement that report with his colleagues.
The world's most powerful rocket successfully taken off but exploded just minutes later. The SpaceX Starship burst into flames 4 minutes into its unmanned test flight. Astronaut Chris Hadfield told the Hard Shoulder here on Newstalk it was an important test.
And today was the day that SpaceX had to find out what they had right and what they had wrong. And they had tremendous success.
A new €100 million wing has been opened at the Dublin's Mater Hospital. The new unit will support 5,000 patients a year and includes 16 intensive care beds. It's 2 minutes past 7.
Newstalk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Will Man U win the Europa League? See the final live with Ryanair's low-fare flights to Budapest.
Tomorrow will be dry and sunny with highest temperatures of 11 to 13 degrees. And now you're up to date on Newstalk.
The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave or your money back. Neon Night Edition available now.
This is Newstalk.
All right, you're welcome along to Thursdays Off the Ball. It's Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. We've got a packed show coming up. Lots of hurling. Lovely hurling. Which is why Will O'Callaghan, host of the Hurling Pod, is with us in studio. How are you?
Perfect timing. How are you going, Nathan? You well?
I enjoyed this week's Hurling Pod immensely.
More so than other weeks?
I liked the first 20 minutes when there was no chat of hurling, and we got to see what sort of husband James Skehill was. And I'd say if we were to put James's rating as a husband and his wife's rating of James as a husband, there might be something of a disparity.
I
suspect he'd give himself a 10 out of 10.
Yes, I think he would. I think Michelle endures a lot.
James is one of the owners of Flooring Porter, the brilliantly successful horse who
not
ran
year,
at Aintree. Not this year, but they've made their money. They've more than made their money, but ran at Aintree. And you've probably seen photos and video of James celebrating his
Cheltenham
success
last year,
Cheltenham last year. Those celebrations that went on for a long, long time. He didn't go to Aintree, and never have I heard a man pat himself on the back as much for not going to Aintree for a week on the lash as much as James Skehill did.
So James Skehill,
basically a saint is how he portrayed himself.
Pretty much. After Cheltenham last year, he spent 3 nights in the spare room. Such was the state he came back from Cheltenham. Went to Aintree, I think last year for the Liverpool Hurdle, where again Flooring Porter didn't quite live up to the Cheltenham run. Didn't again this year, but all week he was planning on going to Aintree. And then he sat down and had a good conversation with his good wife, and she said, I would advise against it. And for once he made the right decision. I thought he was still going to sneak away to go to Aintree anyway. And we were kind of thinking there's a bad husband series potentially in all this, and Skehill can be right up front of the table.
Yeah, I think he's going to be the main protagonist in this. Paul Murphy seems perfectly reasonable.
Paul Murphy was on honeymoon. We joked it was 15 this week, but I think he's actually on his 4th honeymoon. So we had to keep that. We had to keep that in the QT last week because Paul Murphy's concern was not his house being robbed, but his lawnmower being stolen from outside of his house. So we kind of went, oh yeah, Paul's here with us. Let's make no mention whatsoever that he's away in a tropical island enjoying his 4th honeymoon. What happened was they had one big honeymoon planned. COVID hit.
Oh yeah.
And they've split them up into separate trips now.
Okay.
He's not going holidaying all the time.
No, I see what you're saying with Paul Murphy. He's raking it in.
It seems so.
The Defence Forces pays well these days.
It does. He's doing a Legends tour at Croke Park very soon as well, so I'm sure it's one to watch out for.
And sure, of course, the big money he's getting on the Hurling Pod every week as well.
Well
worth tuning in. Well worth.
Why is none of this money found my way? Is the glue that holds these two together?
You and me both. I ask myself that every week after Golf Weekly. Show me the money. But alas, here we are. We got lots of hurling coming up on tonight's show. We've got Eddie Brennan and Anthony Nash on the way after 8 o'clock. Obviously, the hurling championship starting this weekend in both Leinster and Munster. And Fergal Horgan is going to join us at 7:30. So I'm sure everybody heard the news in the last fortnight that Fergal Horgan is one of the most well-known referees in the country. He's refereed 3 All-Ireland finals.
In the last 6 years.
2 of the last 3, and stepped away from inter-county hurling, very frustrated with quite a few things that are going on, and there's been a bit of a back and forth since. So we're going to get Fergal Horgan on the show at 7:30, get his thoughts on that, on why he is stepping away at a time when it is so difficult, it feels, to get referees at every level of the game in every single sport. So that's on the way at 7:30. The Women's Six Nations show coming your way between 8 and 9 as well. Ireland, England, everybody looking ahead to that with a fair degree of trepidation, I think it's fair to say. And also on the football show then, John Giles live in studio on the football show from 9 o'clock, and we'll also keep an eye. Artists like, why are you saying live? He was just in half an hour ago. I don't know why I said live either. But he is in studio, and it was live at the time. So he was live there at the time. It's already recorded. You can listen back to the podcast, watch our social channels. We'll be talking about Todd Bowley going into the Chelsea dressing room, which, as you can imagine, John has plenty of thoughts about. John was, we started talking about John at Philadelphia. Richie McCormack was with us. I should introduce Richie. Sorry, I'm so out of practice at this for so long. I forgot. You're usually here, Richie, and you've had enough time on Thursday nights. I want some me time.
Well, you've had enough me time. I'm amazed we've gotten 7 minutes deep into the show and there's been no mention of Augusta just yet, which is like I'm flabbergasted. I thought that would be the opening soliloquy.
You want me to go there?
Minutes.
It seems.
Go on, get it out of the way. Get it out of your system. You need to.
Without question, the greatest day I've had at any sporting event.
I thought you were about to join Skell on the Bad Husband podcast. They were going, the best day.
I know this would be the bit you would clip up. You have to say, aside, of course, of my wedding day and the birth of my children, it was spectacular. And to say I went to Augusta National with high expectations would be an understatement. And it flew past every expectation that I ever had. It's just perfect. Everything about it is perfection, and I just had a smile on my face for 9 hours. Just a degree of contentment that you rarely get to experience as a 41-year-old man. Just joy. Just nothing bad, nothing sad. You're not allowed a phone, so all the stuff that's happening in the outside world is totally irrelevant to you. You're just at peace with yourself and the incredibly rich people around you.
See, I could order it's going to be like you being allowed into the chocolate factory and then just all this excitement once you get onto the course.
Augusta Gloop right here.
Augusta Gloop.
Hey! Your finest moment, Richie. Your finest moment.
How did you decide what you did at Augusta then? Did you just go walk around the course?
There's a full hour of this on Golf Weekly.
Give us the Cliff Notes version here.
The thing that stands out with Augusta, everyone says always, is how hilly it is, and you don't get the full sense of that. The thing that really stood out at Augusta is how compact and how actually small of an event it is in person. So I was there on the Wednesday, which was the par 3 contest and the final practice day, and by all accounts the best day to go because you have the most freedom to go around the place, and the other days are very much just a golf tournament and you're 6 people deep trying to catch a glimpse of things. I drove down from Atlanta and drove straight off the motorway, followed my Google Maps. There was about 10 cars in front of me. Thought it was pretty quiet. There was one sign saying this way for the golf traffic, go this way. Pull up at traffic lights. There's again 5 cars in front of me. I'm looking at my GPS, says Augusta National.
Tell me you turned up at the wrong golf
Augusta
course,
National is right here. No, I drive down Berkman's Road, very famous. I pull into a car park, and there I am. There's one giant car park, free car parking. You rock up at your car, you leave your phone in the car, and within 5 minutes of getting out of your car, you're in Augusta National through no queue for your tickets or anything. Unbelievably efficient. You walk in 100 yards, the practice facilities, the greatest practice facilities in the world, are just on your left hand side. You walk down this little tunnel of people and you've got your merchandise building just in there, and next thing it's all out in front of you. So the first tee, the 18th green, the second green, the 10th tee are all within 80 to 100 metres of each other, and you can see them all. You can pick a spot and you can basically see it all happening at the one time. You can't see a single grandstand. All the grandstands, the few grandstands that are there, are all sort of tucked away down the back. You wouldn't... compared to a Open Championship or a Ryder Cup where, you're sent to a park and ride 10 miles from the course, you hop on a bus that brings you to a mile from the course, you walk and you can basically see the grandstands from miles around. Like takes over, you take a Portrush, it doesn't take over the town, it takes over almost the country. You wouldn't even know this was happening. you can walk around the course. It's like a Dublin City Parkland course in terms of its size almost, as to how easy it is to get around. And there's just a serenity and a calmness. I'm almost at the stage now where I feel like I need to go to this terrible place with its terrible history. But none of that. You don't think about that.
How much merch did you get? Because we all know
I didn't go too crazy.
One or two journalists who have, I think, it's like wardrobes full of the stuff.
Well, it is that thing of how do you know someone's been to the Masters? Because either they'll tell you or every item of
they're
clothing
wearing
they
it.
have.
You waited 6 minutes. So
so again, the efficiency of the place. The queue is a mile long, but you're in 15 minutes. The fella in front of me, I'm fairly sure, spent $5,000.
Jesus.
Had 20 bags, but again, because you're parked right outside the front door, he just walked out to his car, left them there, put them in the boot and came back in again. I didn't go too crazy. I tried to restrict myself. I bought a nice mug that I now drink all my coffee in at home. I bought some nice glasses. I bought lots of little things for my golf bag. I bought myself a lovely Augusta National jumper. But again, like reasonable.
You're trying to say you spent more than the $5,000 then?
Very
Jumper.
Very
that
reasonable.
jumper cost at least £100. I know it for a fact.
But so then, it's 33 degrees. It's 33 degrees. But again, you pay that in any golf shop, Richie. I'm not defending that. Mick McCarthy's given out because he's heard this story twice already, word for word. Tough. You might hear it again, Mick, at some stage. Look, I was unbelievably lucky to get there and all of that. If you have an opportunity to go, take it. It's one of the... It wasn't even about the sport. I was lucky in that just when I went in, McIlroy and Lowry were going out in their 9-hole practice round with Tommy Fleetwood and then Spieth and Thomas. So kind of the people I wanted to see were out there.
Did you get to see
Paris
hole-in-ones?
No, that was one of those, again, when you're there at golf, you miss everything. I heard the roars around the corner and it could have been anything. Because again, you've no contact with the outside world to know what exactly is happening. It's a museum. Like, that's what it is. You walk around and you sit. I sat in the 12th, the par 3, over Rays Creek, and for the first hour I'd say there was golfers coming through. For the second hour I just sat there looking at it going, like, this might be that terrible reality of this might be as good as it gets. This might be it. You know, that peak midlife crisis. What if it never gets any better than this?
Was the merch
Mayo could win, Sam, you're right. That wouldn't be a contentment. There'll be a wildness to that really they don't appreciate at Augusta National.
No, was the merch reasonable? Because I was looking at the price of the
merch
beer
was
and stuff
totally
at the
reasonable.
concession stand.
So the merch was, you can go crazy. But
Like
we were talking about this in Golf Weekly that I remember at the Ryder Cup, myself and Joe went around and did a piece on the merchandising tent, and you could buy a hat for £300 if you wanted. No, at Augusta, everything would be. It wouldn't be much different to going to a golf shop here and buying a T-shirt. You would pay sort of the same price. Same price for a hat.
Patreon subscriptions are going, don't we?
Slightly more. But again, the food stall, as everyone sees, you get your pimento cheese sandwich for $2.50. Not good, I can tell you.
Right. I saw the beers were like a $5.
Beer for a $5. And people are nearly buying the beer just so they get the cup that comes with the beer, because it's the cheapest merchandise you can get. Likewise, get a bottle of water, you get your little cup with it. People go around with 20 cups stacked together to bring home as their gifts for their mates.
From the Olympics. I've loads of them from the Olympics. There's a press full of them. It's like free, water.
You're regretting asking now, Richie, aren't you? You're really regretting
that was 8 minutes. That was 8 minutes of the show.
It's it is a straight. It's like Augusta is just a normal sort of, I guess, American city, but like a big town by American standards. But this place is just out of this world, and everything about it feels like it's been there forever. I was watching the par 3 competition, the greatest par 3 course in the world, and talking to someone who goes every year, and I was like, this is incredible. It's like, it wasn't like this last year. They've changed the whole par 3 course, and
they go to the par 3 every year.
Oh, they play the par 3 course every year.
Right.
No, they go to the Masters every year. Yeah. But the par 3 course looks like it's been there for 100 years. Everything looks like it's been there forever, even though they make these radical changes every single year. So if you get a chance to get a ticket, go. I did meet people who turned up without a ticket and who stayed in the car park outside on the Wednesday and got a ticket at like 1 o'clock for £100 from people leaving, because you can go in and out. Right. So I'm not saying fly all the way to Augusta and take your chances, but maybe that's your best opportunity. Yeah, it was good. It was very good.
And breathe.
Oh, God. Anyways, here we are back.
To be back at
Great
it, right?
to be back. Delighted to be back. God almighty. The Newsround in association with Gillette Labs. Get the ultimate shave for your money back. Neon Night Edition. Available right now.
How slick.
Richie McCormack, where are we starting?
We start with Augusta, Nathan. No, we don't.
What happened? What happened in the golf?
What happened in the golf? We start with the rugby. Greg McWilliams has made 3 changes to his Ireland team for Saturday's TikTok Women's Six Nations clash with England at Musgrave Park. Vicky Irwin replaces Anna McGann at inside centre, while Molly Scuffle-McCabe is in for Ailsa Hughes at scrum half. The only alteration to the pack sees Brittany Hogan come in for the injured Dorothy Wall at blindside flanker. Wall is nursing an ankle injury, and McWilliams is hoping to have her back for the Scotland game. England head coach Simon Middleton said this week that the disparity between England and France and the rest of the Six Nations field is not sustainable. McWilliams was asked about his opposite numbers comments today and what Ireland have to do to bridge that gap.
We know that the women's game globally is growing massively and developing in this country massively. You can see that with our underage structures and our club structures and the amount of people that are playing the game now. There's no doubt that we want the Six Nations to be competitive. I think everyone does, because it makes it better spectacles. England and France are ahead at the moment. We know that. And I think our job as a union is to continue to improve and to develop. I've talked openly about the plan that we have in place. I'm really confident in that. And, you know, we're on our own journey. And there's an old expression that sometimes you must lose sight of the shore to discover new lands. So I think it's important to know where we are. I think it's really important to know where we've come from. And it's very, very important to know where we're going. And we have a plan on where we want to go. So we're always conscious of closing gaps and being competitive. And this is another weekend where we'll find out a lot about ourselves, and we'll reflect and we'll be smart about how we review the game, as we do after every game. But the more that, you know, every team in the Six Nations is competitive, the better that competition is going to be. And that's what you want. You know, we all love the game of rugby. It's why we talk about it so often and openly. And we want Ireland to be competitive, and we're fighting really hard to get to that point. And you know, at the moment, it's testing our resilience, but it's a great challenge. It's a brilliant challenge for this group of players that are learning in the public eye. And I'm very proud, again, about how they're sticking to task. There's no doubt it's been tricky. You want to win your games. You don't want to be losing games. And we want to win. And we want to always improve and get better. And like I keep saying, this is another opportunity for us to show that this weekend.
I will hear from Fiona Hayes and Ali Donnelly on the Six Nations show. That's coming up after 8 o'clock. A really interesting conversation, not just ahead of the game, but where Ireland are right now. And I think when you hear what Simon Middleton, the England head coach, had to say, I think it's fair enough from England's point of view when they're going into these games in massive winning margins. But you know, that gap that Greg McWilliams talks about, Ireland need to start closing it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and look, there was no sense from the England press conference that they're going to let up in any way at Musgrave Park this weekend, and they were quick to point out they've got a massive match coming up against France, which is going to be a championship decider. And even for some of those players that are coming in, with some of the England frontliners who are on the bench, they want to impress to try and get a place against France. They're a professional rugby team, and they will show no mercy to Ireland this coming weekend. I can understand when Eve Briggs says it sounds disrespectful when people are talking about potential record scorelines being scored against Ireland at the weekend, which is 89 currently. But if you look at the way that Ireland shipped points against both Wales and France, I think there's a real concern that England could put up a huge total at the weekend. It's just remarkable how far France and England have got ahead of the other teams within the Six Nations during what we can probably call now the professional era. That gap that Greg talks about closing feels like an absolute chasm currently.
John in Dublin has been texting in. Myself and some friends went to the 2004 Open at Troon, flew from Dublin to Prestwick Airport with Ryanair, landed at 9:30. The entire airport terminal the size of a small car park, walked through arrivals, crossed the main road to the entrance gate to the course, paid for our tickets, and we're watching golf by 10 o'clock. Nice. Better experience than any tournament I've ever been to. Troon is the one. There are more remote Open Championship locations where it's not quite so easy to get there. 53106 is the text number. There is a lot of live football tonight, and Manchester United are in Seville.
Yeah, they're looking to secure a place in the Europa League semi-finals tonight, away to Sevilla, with the sides level at 2 goals apiece following last week's first leg, and indeed a collapse from United at Old Trafford. David De Gea starts in goal for them. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof and Diogo Dalot are their put together back four. In midfield, the trio of Casemiro, Christian Eriksen and Marcel Sabitzer. Anthony and Jadon Sancho are either side of Anthony Martial. Marcus Rashford fit only enough for a place on the United bench tonight. For Sevilla, Bono continues in goal. It's a back four of Jesus Navas, Loic Bade, Marçal and Marcos Acuna. In midfield then Nemanja Goodell and ex-Manchester City man Fernando. In front of them, Lucas Ocampos, Ivan Rakitic and Eric Lamela. Youssef El Nasiri starts up front. Kickoff is at 8. The winners of that one will play either Juventus or Sporting in the semi-finals. Juve take a 1-0 lead to Lisbon and will be buoyed by the decision of CONI's Collegio di Garanzia. Italian sport's highest court has overturned the 15-point penalty imposed upon Juve for breaches of financial regulations. It means they vault from 7th to 3rd in the Serie A table, edging AC Milan out of the top 4, adding some extra spice to that semi-final in the Champions League now. However, the bans of Andrea Agnelli, Maurizio Arabaveni, Federico Cherubini and current Tottenham Director of Football Fabio Paratici are not revoked. Several other figures, Pavel Nedved included, have been cleared. Coney have signalled that there could be a new trial in that case. Elsewhere in the Europa League tonight, Roma resume 1-0 down at home to Feyenoord. Union Saint-Gilloise and Bayer Leverkusen are level at a goal apiece. In the Conference League quarter-finals, West Ham and Ghent are level at a goal each ahead of their second leg of West Ham. There's quite a story on the cards in Florence. Fiorentina took a 4-1 first leg lead into their tie with Lech Poznan. The Polish side are now 3-0 up with 14 minutes to go at the Artemio Franchi, and it is 4-4 on aggregate. Level 2 now on aggregate in the tie involving AZ and Anderlecht.
Loves himself a bit of Conference League drama of a Thursday night.
He does. My geography teacher used to love the second and third grade competitions in Europe. He said it was the best way ever to learn about where cities were.
Literally the entire country's education on Eastern Europe came from
sensible soccer. Yeah.
Europa League, UEFA Cup.
I remember in first year in French in school, a French teacher going, how do you know about such and such and such? And my one word reply was, well, 2, I guess if it's hyphenated, Euro goals.
Yeah. The Juventus decision, I'm sure we'll come back to over the next few days on off the ball. So they did overturn the 15-point penalty. You say it moves them right up the table. They're still, I think, 16 points behind Napoli, so they won't be winning the league. The fact that the bans on the likes of Fabio Paratici are still in place means it's obviously not that straightforward.
No, it's looking like a retrial, so this could be all thrown into the mixer again, but it's not a good look when Italian sport's highest court has upheld a decision by the Italian Football Federation, and now Tottenham's current director of football, who they've ring-fenced and protected and not sought any suspension or walking away for a time from the job, he's still in place, and there's a ban that's going to be imposed as well, it seems, from world football. Like, Spurs need to act here because they have somebody who's been decided upon as not being fit to take any further part in the game by Italian authorities, and how he's okay to take part in the English game is now a massive mystery, and he's one of the main people who's being tasked with appointing a new manager. So I don't know if they get a new manager in and Paratici walks, but I don't think he can continue in that job the way things stand currently.
What's happening at the Crucible?
Mark Allen's second round match is underway. He is up against 2015 champion Stuart Bingham. That's at the Crucible tonight. On the other table, the last spot in the last 16 is going to be filled with Si Jia Hui resuming 5-4 up on 2005 Crucible champ Sean Murphy. Mark Selby was made to work for his second round place this afternoon, eventually beating Matthew Selt 10-8. The 4-time champion will play Robert Milkins next. Milkins came from 7-2 down this morning to beat Joe Perry 10-9. Mark Williams and Luca Bressel ended the first session of their second round contest level at 4 frames apiece, and they will be back in the morning.
Sevilla should have the edge tonight with Bono in goal, says Owen on YouTube. I think we went through all those jokes at the World Cup and we moved on with our life.
Is he not pronounced
no
Bonu or something like that as well? It's not actually Bono, no?
It's having been in Morocco, Will. No, they just
genuinely been to Augusta National.
Yeah. What merchandise did you pick up, Richie?
I got a couple.
It was a bit cheaper.
I got a couple of knockoff jerseys. No, they go for Bono. They just go for Bono. Yeah,
it's interesting because I think on the Liga TV they kind of go more Bonu, but I defer to your local knowledge on them on this one.
I've been to Morocco, Will. Well, what can I tell you? It's better than Masters.
You need to issue an apology, Will.
I do, yeah. I mixed up Skell's wife's name with his sister's name, and he's concerned that there might be even more concern around Capitagle at the moment. Grace being his wife's name, Michelle being his sister's name. It was Paul Murphy who pointed out, who was listening, stuck it in a WhatsApp group, of which Nathan is also part of the group, and now Paul is asking.
My entire hurling education comes from that group.
Oh my
there
god!
You go. And Paul is asking now about who Michelle is and why she was liking tweets and so on. So he was confused for the same reason as me.
I know we would like our podcast teams to get close, but how do you know his wife's name and his sister's name?
Well, they come up frequently enough within podcast chats. The two boys are an open book.
Fraternity, Richie. The hurling fraternity. They're
fierce close,
aren't they?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, apologies to all involved in that. It's an awkward Christmas dinner, isn't it? I really don't know where to go with this. But the apology has been given out. Some League of Ireland news, Richie.
Yeah, Ricardo Sottil has just scored for Fiorentina, so now they're 5-4 up on aggregate, 3-1 down on the night. That's a hell of a tie. Derry City confirming today the return of Paddy Reynolds to the club as assistant manager. He spent the past 4 years in charge at Cliftonville, but will now work under Candy Stripes boss Rory Higgins. He replaces Alan Reynolds, who's departed for Waterford. McLaughlin made more than 200 appearances for Derry as a player, and Shamrock Rovers are going to be without Rory Gaffney for tomorrow night's Dublin derby at St. Pat's. The striker has a hamstring injury, but wing-back Trevor Clark is available again to Hoops boss Stephen Bradley.
She's like, go away for a couple of weeks, Richie, and Bulls are bottling it.
What do you mean? We're top of the table, Nathan.
Come on, you got to win some games at some stage, surely.
We've got drugs tomorrow, it's fine. Top of the table. Yeah.
Right. Any update on Jack Byrne?
Nothing yet, no. I'd imagine they're going to go pretty close to the wire in terms of that third bid, if and when it does come from Charlotte, because that's when deadline day is in the States for MLS clubs. So, yeah, whether or not he's involved tomorrow night will probably be telling as regards whether we'll see him again in the Shamrock Rovers jersey.
Surely it depends what 6 figures means as well.
Well,
he's in the last year of his contract, so they don't even need to go that high. They know the leverage is with the player more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. It will be such a shame again for the league to be losing one of its best players mid-season. It's a brilliant opportunity for him. All the rumours are that there'll be a substantial personal pay rise. He's obviously spoken on this show and quite frequently about how much he loves being back in Dublin and how brings the best out of him, been around his mates and been around his family and all of that. And he has, from what I've seen of Rovers and him this year, looked back to almost at his best.
Yeah.
Like, he looks fit, whereas last season was such a struggle for so long to be able to get 90 minutes into him, that he's running games, he's controlling. I know results haven't been perfect for Rovers so far, but like, maybe this is that chance. He can always come back again. Maybe this is that one opportunity, peak of his career. Go take the chance and see what you can do with yourself.
He's been brilliant. So he's been brilliant in the last few games, particularly much to my chagrin at Dalymount a couple of weeks ago. Like, he's back to running games, like you say, and he's doing everything that Rovers are doing right, if you know what I mean. He's at the head of that. But again, he's still 26. Like, he's just 26. Like, go away for 2 years. Like, you don't get these opportunities every day. If you've got an opportunity to go and live in another environment while you still have youth on your side and earn a few quid while you're doing it, do it.
He's never afraid of taking a risk either. He's gone to Holland, he's gone to Cyprus previously, come back here.
Yeah.
Will United trip up this evening? Could well be, in my opinion. Maguire and Lindelof in there. Says Ian on YouTube. I commented on United at the weekend against Forest, and it was
Forest didn't have Sean
Maguire
Turner,
and
did they?
Lindelof. Now, Forest aren't exactly the most attacking team in the world. I think it's 5 clean sheets in a row for Harry Maguire in his last 5 Premier League starts for Manchester United, which these are the sort of stats he's keen to get out there. They've only started together twice in the league this season. Maguire and Lindelof, 2 clean sheets.
Has he left out the own goal he scored?
Nottingham Forest.
The last time he played in Europe in those stats.
So, listen, this is what they have. There's no sign of Martinez for the rest of the season. Varane's going to be out for the next couple of weeks. Needs must.
They should still win though, Nathan. Like, they were well on top in that tie last week, and
that's a bad Sevilla side.
Yeah,
it's a bad Sevilla side based on the ones they've had recently. Like, it's full of Premier League cast-offs like Lamela and Fernando, and Rakitic is in the kind of winter of his career now as well. So it's a side they should be beating, but with that back four, who knows?
All right, I think that is us done. Richie, thanks for indulging me. I swear I won't speak about the Masters.
Let you get it
2 more days, probably.
Maybe there's still a few people I haven't met, so I can tell the exact same story too.
Thank
you. Apologies to the Skehill family for any of the awkwardness.
It's all forgiven
of the past half an hour.
James Skehill, well said, lads. 3 laughing emojis. So Skehill's fine.
Husband of the year, right there, James Skehill. Will, thank you. Fergal Horgan, we're going to have lots more hurling pretty much for the next hour. We're going to be looking ahead to the championship with Eddie Brennan and Anthony Nash and Fergal Horgan coming up in just a few minutes. But right now it's time for the cash machine.
Your chance to win big. News Talk's cash machine.
So the winning continued on Thursday. Chris Lowe was at work when we called. He's now eyeing up a brand new camper van with his winnings, and the winning will continue tomorrow. We're guaranteeing that a huge prize will be given out tomorrow afternoon. The amount you need to know is €52,253.44. To enter, text play and only the word play to 57557. That's 57557. If we call you back after 3 o'clock, answer within 5 rings, tell us the amount and you win all the money. Remember that amount again. €52,253.44. Get your entry in by 3 o'clock. Cost is $2.50 plus your standard message rate across the Go Loud network of stations, and you can check out newstalk.com for